Good morning, everyone. Myself is Kiran Mayi, lecturer in physics, working at Government City College. Today, now we are going to discuss about the quantum theory of radiation. It is divided into two parts: thermal radiation and quantum radiation. Thermal radiation is nothing but a heat transfer of heat by conduction, and convection requires the presence of a material medium. However, another process of heat transfer in which no material medium is necessary. So that the process of heat transfer from a body by virtue of its temperature without the involvement of a intervening medium is called radiation. In the transmission of heat by radiation, the radiant energy is transported by electromagnetic waves because these waves can travel through vacuum. The radiation emitted by a body by virtue of its temperature is called thermal radiation. The thermal radiation is a particular range of electromagnetic radiation. Now, according to Prevott's theory of heat and exchanger, every body emits and absorbs radiant energy continuously as long as its temperature is above 0 Kelvin. However, even the two bodies are at same temperature, they exchange thermal radiation between themselves. The thermal radiation emitted by a body per unit time and per unit surface area depends on the nature of surface and its temperature. At low temperature, the emission rate is small, while at a higher temperature it increases rapidly as fourth power of absolute temperature. Following are the properties of thermal radiation. It travels through empty space with the velocity of light. It travels in straight lines in the same sense as light. It undergoes reflection, refraction, and total internal reflection, obeying the same law as light. It exerts a small but finite pressure on the surface on which it is incident, and it obeys inverse square law. We define some few definitions regarding thermal radiation. Spectral energy density, total energy density, emissive power, absorptive power. Now, emissive power is nothing but the power of a body at a given temperature and for a given wavelength is defined as the radiant energy emitted per second by unit surface area of the body per unit wavelength range. Now, absorptive power is a power of a body at a given temperature and for a given wavelength is defined as the ratio of radiant energy absorbed per second by unit surface area of the body to the total energy falling per second on the same area. Now, next is black body and its radiation. A perfectly black body is one which completely absorbs all radiations of all wavelengths incident on it. Since it neither reflects nor transmits any radiation, it appears black whatever be the color incident on the radiation. According to Kirchhoff's law, a body which is capable of absorbing radiation must be also be capable of emitting all possible wavelengths. So, a perfectly black body is a good absorber as well as a good radiator. When it is heated to a suitable high temperature, it emits radiation of all wavelengths. Now, as the radiation emitted by the black body, which is maximum possible wavelengths, and hence such radiations are known as full radiation or total radiation. Now, there is no body perfectly in character. The nearest approach is lamp black or platinum black. These are capable of absorbing the visible and a part of near infrared but far red are reflected. So perfectly black body is just an ideal concept. For practical purposes, a lamp black surface may be considered as a perfectly black body. Now, here we will discuss the Ferris black body and Wien's black body. As shown in the figure, the Ferris black body. Uh, it is a it is in the form of a double-walled conducting sphere. The interspace between the wall is evacuated to prevent loss of heat by conduction and convection. It has a small hole capital O and a conical projection capital P just outside the hole O. It is lamp blacked inside and nickel polished outside. When the radiation is incident on the hole, it passes inside the enclosure. The radiation suffers multiple reflections inside the enclosure and is completely absorbed. There is hardly any possibility of the radiation to get out except by direct reflection from the surface opposite to hole. This is eliminated by the projection P. In this way, any radiation that enters the body does not escape and is absorbed. Therefore, the body appears as perfectly black. Here, the hole behaves very closely like a black body. If the enclosure is heated to a definite temperature, it is filled with black radiation having all possible wavelengths. Next is Wien's black body. Wien's black body is shown in figure. It consists of a long metallic tubes capital C blackened inside and surrounded by a concentric porcelain tubes capital P. The tube is heated by electric current passing in the coil wound around it. The temperature of the central part of the tube is measured by thermocouple capital T. Heat radiations emerge out of the hole O. The radiation from the inner chamber can be limited with the help of diaphragms as shown by dotted lines. The hole acts as a black body radiator. Now, how the energy is distributed in a black body radiation, we will see. We know that the black body emits radiation of all possible wavelengths. It was a problem to the scientists that how the energy is distributed among different wavelengths. Stephen gave the fourth power law. According to Stephen's law, the total amount of radiant energy by a black body per unit area per second due to all wavelengths is directly proportional to the fourth power of absolute temperature. That is, capital E is directly proportional to T power 4, where sigma is Stephen's constant. Actually, this law gives the total energy radiated by a black body and does not throw any light on energy distribution. The distribution of energy in black body radiation for different wavelengths and at various temperatures was determined experimentally by Leumer and Pringsheim in 1899. They used the black body as an electrically heated chamber with a narrow aperture. The temperature of the heated enclosure was measured by thermocouple. The experimental is shown in a figure. The radiation from a black body O was focused on a slit S by a concave mirror M1. The slit S is placed at the focus of another concave mirror M2, so that radiation after reflection from mirror M2 becomes parallel. The parallel beam of radiation is allowed to incident on a fluorescent prism ABC. Here, glass prism is not used because it absorbs certain heat radiations. The prism produces this spectrum of radiations. The emergent dispersed beam is incident on a concave mirror M3. This mirror focuses different wavelengths at different angles. The radiations are detected by means of bolometer, an instrument to detect thermal radiation. The molometer is a linear type due to Lumer and Kolbam is fitted with galvanometer capital G. The deflection produced in the galvanometer gives the intensity of radiation E lambda. This is defined such that quantity E lambda d lambda is the energy for wavelengths lying between lambda and lambda plus d lambda emitter per second per unit surface area of black body. The wavelengths at different parts of the spectrum was calculated by prism dispersion formula. Instead of rotating bolometer to obtain different wavelengths maxima, the mirror M3 was rotated about a vertical axis and different maxima were detected by bolometer. Now with this, the curves obtained as shown in the next figure. The experimental results are as follows. The emission from a black body at any temperature is composed of radiation from all wavelengths. At a given temperature, the energy is not uniformly distributed. As the temperature of the black body increases, the intensity of radiation for each wavelength increases. This shows the total amount of energy radiated per unit area per time increases with increase of temperature. The total energy of radiation at any temperature is given by area between the curve corresponding to that temperature and the horizontal axis. The increase in area is found in accordance with the Stephen's law. Capital E equals to integral 0 to infinity E lambda d lambda equals to sigma t power 4. The amount of radiant energy emitted is small at very short and very long wavelengths. At particular temperature, the spectral radiancy E lambda is maximum at a particular wavelength lambda m. The wavelength corresponding to maximum energy represented by the peak of the curve shifts towards shorter wavelengths as the temperature increases. This is called Wien's displacement law. According to this law, lambda m into T equals to constant. Now, next is Wien's displacement law. The radiation from a black body is passed through a prism. A continuous spectrum is obtained. The energy is distributed in various wavelengths varying from 0 to infinity. The law that connects the intensity with wavelength is known as a law of distribution of intensity of black body radiation. Wien deduced thermodynamically that as the temperature of the body is raised, the maximum energy tends to be associated with shorter wavelengths. According to Wien's displacement law, the product of wavelength corresponds to maximum energy lambda m and the absolute temperature capital T is constant. That is lambda m T equals to constant. This constant is called as Wien's displacement constant and has the value of 0.2 into 896 into 10 power minus 2 meter Kelvin. Now, how we will deduct the value of Wien's displacement law. Consider a spherical enclosure with perfectly reflecting walls and capable of expansion radially outwards like a football bladder. It will be filled with black body radiation of energy density U at a temperature capital T. If capital V be the volume of enclosure, then total internal energy capital U of radiation is given by capital U equals to small u into V. Imagine that the walls of enclosure move outward such that radiation inside it expands adiabatically. Let dV be the change in volume and P be the pressure of radiation on the walls of enclosure. Now, the work done by the pressure of radiation on the walls of enclosure will be PdV. This is drawn from the internal energy of the radiation. Let du be the decrease of internal energy of radiation. Then, from first law of thermodynamics, du plus pdv equals to dq equals to 0. Since dq equals to 0 as change is adiabatic, with the help of electromagnetic theory, the radiation exerts a pressure P on the wall of the enclosure which is equal to 1/3 of the energy density. Small p equals to 1 by 3 u. Substituting the value of P in the above relation, we get d of uv plus 1 by 3 u dv equals to 0. From that, 4 by 3 u dv plus v du equals to 0. Dividing by uv, we have 4 by 3 dv by v plus du by u equals to 0. Integrating the above expressions, we get 4 by 3 log to the base e v plus log to the base e u equals to 0. That is nothing but v power 4 by 3 into u equals to constant. According to Stephen's law, small u equals to sigma t power 4, where sigma is Stephen's constant. Therefore, by substituting that, we get v power 4 by 3 into sigma t power 4 equals to constant. That is nothing but v power 1 by 3 into t equals to constant. The radiation filled in the enclosure will undergo continuous reflections from the moving walls of the enclosure. Due to Doppler's effect, the wavelength will be changed. The change in wavelength can be calculated as follows. As shown in figure, let OA be the ray of wavelength lambda incident at an angle theta on the wall in position S1. At a particular wave crest strikes the wall at A and is reflected along AC. Let AC equals to lambda. As the reflected wave crest reaches at capital C, the next will reach at A in time t, t being the period of wave motion. When the next crest reaches A, the wall has moved a distance am equal to Vt, where V is the velocity of the expansion of the wall. Now the crest is reflected from the point capital B of the new position S2 on the wall. The crest is reflected in the direction BD. Let AB plus BD equals to lambda 1. Therefore, the change in wavelength d lambda equals to lambda 1 minus lambda equals to AB plus BD minus AC. That is nothing but AB plus BN plus ND minus AC. Since we can write ND equals to AC and AB as A dash B, therefore the above equation will be changes into AN equals to AA dash cos theta. That is 2AM cos theta. AM can be written as Vt. Therefore 2 into nu lambda by c cos theta, where c is velocity of radiation. Every ray inside the spherical enclosure undergoes repeated reflections. The path of a single ray is shown in figure. It is obvious from the figure that between two successive reflections, say at A and B, the wave travels at a distance 2 or cos theta. Therefore, number of reflections per second equals to C by 2 or cos theta, and number of reflection in time dt equals to C dt by 2 or cos theta. The change in wavelength in time dt is given by d lambda equals to change in wavelength in one reflection into number of reflections in time dt. Therefore, d lambda equals to 2v lambda cos theta by c into c dt by 2 or cos theta. That gives rise to v lambda by r into dt. d lambda by lambda equals to v dt by r equals to dr by r. Integrating the above equation, we get logarithm to the base e lambda equals to logarithm to the base e r plus some constant, logarithm of constant, that is lambda equals to rc, or lambda by r equals to constant. Now we have v power 1 by 3 t equals to constant, and where volume we have for standard formula 4 by 3 pi r cube. By substituting that, we get 4 by 3 pi r cube into whole power 1 by 3 into t equals to constant. Rt equals to constant. Therefore, by equating the above equations, lambda by r into Rt equals to constant. That is, lambda t equals to constant. Thus, if radiation of a particular wavelength at a certain temperature is adiabatically altered to another wavelength, then the temperature changes in the inverse ratio. In the mathematical form, this relation indicates that as the temperature is raised, the maximum intensity of radiation emitted is displaced towards the shorter wavelength side. This is called Wien's displacement law. Now, suppose that the waves of wavelengths lying between lambda and lambda plus d lambda in the spherical chamber are isolated and are allowed to undergo adiabatic expansion. Its energy will be u lambda d lambda. Now, lambda as well as d lambda will change. Therefore, the d of u lambda d lambda plus pdv equals to 0. Now, by equating and solving the above equation, we get d of u lambda d lambda by u lambda d lambda equals to minus 4 by 3 dv by v. Integrating this expression, we get u lambda dr r power 4 equals to constant. Integrating over r, we get u lambda into r power 5 equals to constant. We know that spectral radiancy E lambda is proportional to energy density U lambda. Therefore, E lambda T power 5 minus 5 equals to constant. Experimentally, we can determine the distribution of energy E lambda among different wavelengths at any temperature T. A curve is drawn as shown in figure. With the help of this curve, the curve for any higher temperature T dash can be drawn. This shows the wavelength in interval d lambda is also shortened in the ratio T by T dash. The new curve thus obtained is higher but narrower. The total area which represents the intensity is changed in the ratio. T by T dash equal into T dash by T into whole power 5 equals to T dash by T whole power 4. It is observed that corresponding to peak point P in the T curve, there is a peak point P dash in the T dash curve, such that lambda m T equals to lambda m dash T dash equals to constant. Next one is pyrometers. Pyrometers are instruments used for measurement of high temperatures. The pyrometers based on the principles of radiation are termed as radiation pyrometers. The fact that the radiation emitted by a black body depends upon its temperature provides radiation methods for measuring high temperatures. There are two types of radiation pyrometers. total radiation pyrometers and optical or spectral pyrometers. The instruments that measure total radiation emitted by the body under test are called as total radiation pyrometers. Temperature is determined by making use of Stephen's law. Optical pyrometers are nothing but compare the intensity of radiation of a certain wavelength emitted by the body with that of the radiation of same wavelength emitted by a standard body at a known temperature. The temperature of the body is obtained by applying Wien's displacement law or Planck's law. Now, advantages of this pyrometers. They can be used to measure any high temperatures even when the hot body is inaccessible. They need not be put in contact with the hot body nor raised to the temperature of the body. There is no difficulty in extrapolation because radiation laws are valid at all temperatures. Disadvantages are their range roughly begins at 6000 degrees Celsius and so temperatures below this limit cannot be measured. Now next is a disappearing filament optical pyrometer. First of all, Morse devised the disappearing filament type of pyrometer. Later, Holborn and Colburn improved the Morse pyrometer. The pyrometer consists of a telescope fitted with an object O at one end and an eyepiece E at other end. The distance between objective and eyepiece can be adjusted by a rack and pinion arrangement as shown in figure. The cross wires of the telescopes are replaced by an electrical lamp S. The filament F of the lamp is connected to the battery B, rheostat RH and ammeter A in series. The filament is heated by the electric current flowing through it and its temperature can be changed by adjusting the current in the circuit. The current is recorded by ammeter. D1 and D2 are the two diaphragms which limit the cone of radiation entering the telescope. A red glass filter G is placed before eyepiece. Working. The objective of the pyrometer is directed towards the hot body whose temperature is to be measured. With the help of rack and pinion arrangement, the position of the objective is so adjusted that the image of the hot body is focused on the filament F. The image is viewed with the help of eyepiece fitted with a red glass filter. The image of the filament superimposed with the illuminated red background appears in the field of view through the eyepiece. Now the filament is heated by switching on the electric current. Further, the current through the filament is adjusted in such a way that the filament is just disappears against the background. The current in the filament is recorded with the help of ammeter. Since both filament and image are equally bright, they must be emitting equal amounts of energy per unit area per second and hence they must be at the same temperature. Now for this, how we can calculate that temperature? The temperature of the filament T can be calculated from the formula I equals to A plus Bt plus Ct square, where I is the strength of the current flowing through the circuit and small a, b, c are constants. The values of these constants can be determined by calibrating the instrument against known temperatures. Using various bodies whose temperatures are known accurately, the corresponding ammeter readings are recorded when filament disappears. Using above equation and solving it for 3 readings, A, B, C are calculated. The instrument is suitable for measuring temperatures from 600 degrees Celsius to 1500 degrees Celsius. The range can be raised up to 2700 degrees Celsius by using a rotating sector with cut down a temperature known fraction of radiation. Next is a solar constant. Solar constant is radiating energy in all directions by virtue of its temperature. The earth receives only a fraction of this energy. A considerable portion of the incoming radiation is lost by reflection and scattering by the terrestrial atmosphere. Moreover, the radiation is heavily absorbed by Earth's atmosphere. The absorption of radiation depends upon the time of day and the season of year. Thus, amount of solar radiation received by the surface of the earth depends on the location, the time of the day, the time of the year, the weather, and the tilt of the surface to sun rays. Thus, we need a more constant quantity which is furnished by the rate at which solar radiations are received per unit area of a black surface held at right angles to the rays of sun and placed at the mean distance of the earth. Constant quantity is termed as solar constant. Solar constant is defined as the rate at which solar energy is received by a black surface per unit area placed normal to the sun rays at the mean distance of the earth from the sun in the absence of Earth's atmosphere. Its value is 1340 volt per meter square. Now, how we can determine the solar constant? Now, determination of solar constant. The instruments used for the determination of solar constant are called pyroheliometers. Angstrom's pyroheliometer is as shown in figure. It consists of two thin, exactly similar blackened strips of platinum or constant S1 and S2, constant S1 and S2. The two strips are arranged such that one is open to receive radiation from sun normally, while the other is protected by a double-walled shield capital H. The bags of S1 and S2 are connected to two junctions of a thermocouple consists of copper and constant ton wire through galvanometer G. The strip S2 is heated electrically with the help of electrical circuit. Now, how it will be worked, we will see. When both S1 and S2 are at same temperature, then galvanometer G shows no deflection. When S1 is exposed to radiation from the sun, its temperature rises and galvanometer shows deflection. Now current is passed through the strip S2 and its strength is adjusted that the galvanometer shows no deflection. Under this condition, the temperatures of A and B are same. That is, the rate at which heat is supplied to both is same. The heat energy supplied to strip S2 can be calculated from the known values of the current and potential difference in the electrical circuit. If A be the area of cross section of strip and small a its absorption coefficient, then the energy absorbed or solar radiation received per minute per square centimeter is Wi into 60 divided by capital A into small a. Hence, solar system into 4.2. From this, solar constant is given by capital S is equal to Vi into 60 divided by A into small a into 4.2 calories per centimeter square per minute. When V is voltmeter reading in volts and I is ammeter reading. The experiment was performed several times on the same day under constant sky conditions with different elevations of the sun. The average value of solar constant was then calculated by performing the experiment throughout the year. The observed value of solar constant S S and the true value of solar constant S naught are connected by the relation S equals to S naught into tau power secant Z, where tau is the transmission coefficient of the atmosphere and Z is zenith distance of the earth. Taking logarithms, we have log S equals to log S naught plus secant Z into log tau. From this experimental data, a graph is drawn between log S on y-axis and secant Z on x-axis. The graph comes out to be a straight line as shown in figure. The intercept of the straight line on y-axis gives the value of log S naught. From this, the value of S naught can be calculated. The value of S naught comes out to be 1340 volt per meter square. Next, the temperature of the sun. The sun consists of a central hot core having a temperature of 20 million degrees. The boundary of this central core is a thick shell called the photosphere. The temperature of the sun usually means the temperature of photosphere, which is around 6000 Kelvin. The next 300 to 400 kilometers thick layer is called as a reversing layer, which contains most of the elements in gaseous state. The extension of reversing layer is chromosphere. This is only seen during total solar eclipse. Finally, the outer gaseous layer, which extends to more than 500,000 kilometers, is called as corona. The different parts are shown in figure. By knowing the value of solar constant and assuming a sun as a perfectly black body, the temperature of the sun can be calculated as follows. Let capital R be the radius of photosphere of the sun. Then its surface area is pi r square. If T0 Kelvin be the absolute temperature of the sun, then according to Stephen's law, the amount of energy emitted by sun per minute is given by pi r square into sigma T power 4 into 60, where sigma is Stephen's constant. This energy is spread in all directions. Consider a sphere of radius r concentric with the sun. Then this radiated energy will be spread over the surface r pi r square. If S is the solar constant, the energy received by the surface pi r square per minute is 4 pi r square S. Hence, 4 pi r square into sigma T power 4 into 60 equals to 4 pi r square into S. T power 4 equals to S r square divided by 60 r square sigma, where T equals to r square by small r by capital R whole square into S by 60 into 1 by sigma whole power 1 by 4. Thus, temperature of the sun can be calculated